Now I know that you just watched my top 20 Frederic Malle fragrances ranked by Dahlia video last Saturday, but I wanted to highlight the Desert Gems collection. Those are the fragrances that feature the Arabic writing on their bottles, and these are fragrances that are very Middle Eastern, Arabic, Oriental style of releases that are really expensive. Some of them are not, well, a few of them are. They're all expensive. I mean, that's the price point with these fragrances. Very pricey fragrances, but they are also amazing fragrances. Since the Moon was not available when I shot that video with Dahlia early March, I thought, you know what, let's do this video finally. The Moon just arrived 3 weeks ago. I've been testing it out and really loving it. And I want to highlight these fragrances, do it some justice since Dahlia ranked them so low. So anyway, if you want to find out about the Desert Gems collection of fragrances from Frederic Malle, then please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian with Smelling Great Fragrance Reviews. That's right, Desert Gems from Frederic Malle, which features the Night, Promise, Dawn, and the Moon. 4 fragrances, Middle Eastern inspired fragrances. 2 of them were created by Dominique Ropion. 1 was Carlos Benaim, and the last one, the Moon, is created by Julien Rasquinet. So we're going to find out about these 4 fragrances, but if this is your first time tuning into the channel and you still haven't subscribed to my channel, please click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So, Desert Gems collection has been around since 2014, but it launched with 1 fragrance. And when this fragrance, the Night, which is this, was launched, it was, I think, a Middle Eastern exclusive. It didn't make it here in San Francisco for a while, and it made it here to the Barney's store. Obviously, that's where the Frederic Malle fragrances were sold. Sadly, Barney's is no longer. It closed down at the beginning of this year, and for probably about 3 or 4 years, this fragrance has been around. Now, for me, it took me a while to warm up to this fragrance. It is a very big experience, like overwhelming. It is also very pricey. So, The Night was launched in 2014, and I actually have had these several meetups with Frederic Malle. He'd make his appearance here at Barney's and do a kind of like a event at Barney's with his brand, and he'd sign bottles and things like that. So there were several occasions where I was invited to a room, and you know, customers or people that are in the community would talk and speak to him. And he spoke a lot about this fragrance. I do have a video of that talk, or when he mentioned this fragrance. And the reason this is called The Night is because in the Middle East, a lot of places are really hot, and people just go out at night rather than going out during the day because it's really hot. So that's what this fragrance is called, The Night. But as I said, it took a long time for me to warm up to it. It is intense, it's overwhelming, and very pricey. So 2014 launch, 100 ml bottle retails for $1,600, 50 ml, $960. And get this, when I was doing my research, I found out that there is a 250 ml bottle of this. It retails for $3,425. Why is it so expensive? Well, it uses 100% natural oud. Now on the channel, I've spoken a lot about natural oud versus synthetic oud. A lot of designer ouds use the synthetic oud variety. This is 100% natural, and it smells like it. You can smell it. It does have dirty elements or fecal, or you know, those kind of elements. But upon initial spray, the very first time, I was put off a little bit. But I have grown to love it. In fact, as I said, this is created by Dominique, or did I say that? It is created by Dominique Ropion. The more I wear it, the more it reminds me of a more intense, more oudy, animalic oudy version of Portrait of a Lady, whereas the rose in that fragrance appears here, but here it's mostly about the oud with a little bit of that rose and a little bit of that saffron, well, a little bit of saffron and frankincense and sandalwood comes in as well. So that's mostly what the fragrance is about, but you get a lot of oud. It is a lot. Now, as I said, it is ultra pricey, but a little goes a long way. So if you bought a 100 ml bottle, you probably only need 1, at the most 2 sprays for each occasion. Even if you're going to wear this at night in the Middle East where it's really hot, when everybody is wearing it at night, you know, for going out at night, then even at that time you're only going to need 1 or 2 sprays at the most, because it is overly intense. It is a really, really intense experience, and I've grown to love it. I really love it, and this has become one of my favorite fragrances. But if you are not too familiar with these kind of fragrances, or not too familiar is not the right word, if you're not too experienced with these kind of fragrances, you might be put off by it. It is pretty animalic. So, but as I said, I have come to really, really love it, and I really enjoy it. But for me, even with my appreciation for really intense fragrances and overspraying, I don't need a lot with this one. 1 or 2 sprays at the most, and that's pretty much it. But it is gorgeous. It's to die for. It's beautiful, and you can tell the signature style of Mr. Dominique Ropion. As you can see on the bottle, it does have his name on it. All the Frederic Malle fragrances do have all the names of the perfumers written on them. And that's the deal or arrangement with this brand. Every perfumer that makes a fragrance, you know, gets to have their name on the brand labels, obviously, along with the name of the brand. So Dominique Ropion, I believe, has created the most fragrances for Frederic Malle. I haven't really counted, but I feel like he has done a lot. And this is one of his gems, and it is one of the fragrances from the Desert Gems collection. So that is the Night. Very, very pricey. If you can get yourself a sample or a decant, do. No more Barneys to go smell these at, and obviously we're also in still in the shelter in place kind of a mode, so I don't know how soon you can get your nose on it if you're able to go to a retail establishment that sells this. But if you get the chance, please do, because if you like the idea of appreciating the all-natural ouds, this is probably one of the gems out there out of all the fragrances. I love it. It smells great, but just be warned, it's going to take some time to appreciate something like this. So that's the Night, launched in 2014. Now, right after that, there was another fragrance. Well, I shouldn't say right after, because the Night came out in 2014. 3 years later, we were given Promise. And Promise is really, really good. Really, really good with very, very boozy touches. So for me, this one is not necessarily fitting in this collection. I don't know if I should say that. It just doesn't seem like it belongs in this collection, because there's no oud in here, for one, and everything else in the collection is all oud focused. So there's no oud here. But it does feel a little odd. That's why I feel like maybe they put it in here. For me, this one is really, really big on the Cypriol note. And that Cypriol note, along with all the notes that are in here, make it smell like this. If you've ever smelled like a fine liqueur, whiskey, things like that, where you can smell the barrel, the barrel that they aged the liqueur in, it smells like that. So it is very, very boozy. But let's give you the details on this one. It is a 2017 launch, 100 ml, $390. So this one is the least expensive out of all. 100 ml under 400, still very, very pricey. 50 ml, $265. And with this one, they do have a 10 ml edition for $78. And once again, this is created by Dominique Ropion. This happens to be one of my favorite fragrances in this collection. I love it because I love boozy fragrances. But let me tell you the notes. Pink pepper, rosemary oil, apple accord at the top. In the heart, you've got Bulgarian rose oil, Turkish rose absolute, and clove oil. So it is spicy with loads of roses. And the base, you've got patchouli. Patchouli heart is what they call it. Amboroxan, Labdanum, Cypriol, Castoreum. Castoreum is the animalic note. But yeah, it really, really smells like a fine aged liqueur. And for me, it reminds me of a very appley Calvados, or maybe like some kind of a brandy or a cognac of some kind. Because when you smell those bottles and you open them up and smell that liqueur, you can smell that barrel, maybe even some cork or something. Just smells like a whiskey or some kind of a spirit or something. Just when you smell it, that's what it smells like. It's really, really fabulous. And the apple in here, I've spent a lot of time along places where they make cider and things like that, you know, the liqueur kind or the beer kind, and the apple in here smells a little fermented, because, you know, they ferment those apples to turn them into alcohol. So this just is a very, very appley, boozy experience. It's very, very delicious. And the other thing about this one also, along with the first one we spoke about, very, very long lasting. In fact, the Night is definitely a lot more long lasting than this one is, but this one itself is a pretty long lasting as well. Now, as far as rankings go with these two, in the video with Dahlia, Dahlia ranked Promise a lot higher than The Night. I think she was justifying with the price point and all that good stuff, and the fact that she's having a difficult time wearing oud. I mentioned in that video I'm having a difficult time with animalic fragrances, and I had to get used to this one, otherwise it was pretty animalic when I first smelled it. But there are times when I can't deal with the fragrance, and I have to like train myself to appreciate it or just start loving it. It's just a journey, you know. Sometimes you go on fragrance, sometimes you go on a journey, it's like you're going through a list of fragrances. It doesn't smell good at first, but then along the way or afterwards you're smelling so many more, and then you come back to it, then it starts smelling great, and that's what happens sometimes. But if you're looking for a boozy fragrance, I highly recommend Promise. It is definitely on the pricier side, but if you like that whole apple thing with the booziness, like a cider or some kind of a spirit or cognac or something, definitely check out Promise. I really highly recommend that one. And this whole entire collection, the Desert Gems collection, are very, very long-lasting fragrances. Goes with the price point, but very, very amazing experiences. So I didn't mention at the beginning of the video that I am going to rank these after I go through all 4 of them. We have 2 more left, and now we've moved on to, I think this is, oh, here it is. Now we've moved on to Dawn, this one right here. So Dawn came out in 2018. And this one is 100 ml, $1,600, same price point as The Night. They're both very, very pricey, but with the Dawn, they don't have that 250 ml bottle that was available with The Night, and I guess The Night has major, major fans that they would have a large bottle size like that. But with Dawn, 100 ml, $1,600, 50 ml, $960, same price point of the other fragrance. And this one's created by Carlos Benaim. Now, once again, this is an oud as well. But this is different. When you smell them, for me, this one smells like a churchy oud. Does that make sense? Lots of incense or frankincense in here. Although they don't credit frankincense, they credit Olibanum, which is actually frankincense. So with this one, you have at the top rose, pink pepper, in the heart Olibanum, in the base notes Labdanum, Vetiver, Oakmoss, and oud. In the end, this is, I feel like whenever I smell incense, I feel like it's a colder experience, not so warm. For me, incense, even though, you know, it's burned, it's warm, but the overall experience is a cool, it just reminds me of cold church. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but that's what I get with this one a lot. As soon as I put my nose on it, it's a colder experience, whereas here, The Night is a warmer experience, loads of warmth with it. So in comparison of the two, I feel like this is a lot more stark, or just a cooler, colder experience, just more of a winter, but you're outside in the cold, whereas The Night is also winter because you wear it in the winter because it's so strong, but this is more inside, interiors, when there's warmth of the heat or fire or something. That's, I don't know, I have that comparison of the two, and that's how I distinguish the two separately. In the end, they're very, I guess they're not very similar, but the idea, I guess it is kind of similar to me, because in the end they're using rose again and they're using oud, but the execution is completely different, plus the perfumers are completely different. And this is what Carlos Benaim came up with, a cooler experience, a more stark experience with the oud, like a winter chill kind of an experience. No, it's, don't get me wrong, it's not like a overly cold, but as far as the smell goes, I get that experience. It does settle down to a warmer experience. It does get a little ambery in the base. So in the end, it's not overly, you know, stark and cool and winter chill, but just that's how I experience the fragrance. I'm not going to tell you which is my favorite of the two, but I'll tell you at the end. Anyway, this is Dawn, created by Carlos Benaim, and that came out in 2018. And finally, I finally got my bottle. They were sold out everywhere. I was actually wanting to buy my bottle at Barney's when they, you know, just at the end of the year last year, earlier in this year, but they had sold out of the Moon already. And finally just got it like 3 weeks ago. I had it shipped over from Europe. And I'm obsessed with the way it smells. Really, really obsessed. And what is the deal with the Moon? It kind of reminds me a little bit of a fusion of these two, Promise and The Night. Not sure why I get that. But the Moon is a complete different price point, and I can only buy a 50 ml. I wanted to buy a 100 ml. The only thing I can get was a 50 ml. 50 ml is $4.50. 100 ml is $7.50. And these are the only two sizes I saw available. But even checking them out on the Frederic Malle website, they were sold out. They were completely sold out. And I think because of the pandemic, places are not manufacturing and things like that. So we're probably going to see a lot of fragrances sold out for a while, and I'm also fearing that a lot of prices are going to go up very soon as well, sadly, due to the pandemic and the fact that there's a demand and all that good stuff. But I'm obsessed with the way this smells. It smells really, really good. In fact, it's made it up there pretty high out of the whole entire list. But the Moon is created by Julien Rasquinet, and Julien Rasquinet, I guess I would say that all of these perfumers that are working with Frederic Malle are under IFF, International Flavors and Fragrances, I think. Because Julien Rasquinet is, and also Dominique Ropion is. So I'm assuming Carlos Benaim is as well. And I've seen Julien Rasquinet's name come up. He's done fragrances for Costume National. He's done fragrances for Just Box, the little records on top. And now, with Frederic Malle, the Moon, I love this. It's so good. So at the top, you've got raspberry, lychee, and saffron. In the heart, you've got Olibanum. There's that Olibanum again, the frankincense, and Turkish rose. In the base notes, you've got oud and leather. And I think the reason why this reminds me of the two of those fragrances, Promise and the Night, is because it's fruity. The Promise is very fruity with the apples. It's not the fruits that they credit here. But when you put your nose on it and you wear it, it reminds me of the fruitiness of Promise, plus the oudiness of the Night. This one doesn't get so animalic on me, not like the Night. The Night does get animalic, but this one does get a little bit sparkly with cumin. When I'm wearing it, I feel like these like pops of crackles of cumin are just like kind of like bouncing off of my skin, which I really love. I've been obsessed with cumin a lot lately, and it's not credited here in the notes. I've taken all the notes off of Frederic Malle, by the way. But for me, I get cumin. I just love the way that smells. But it's fruity at the same time. It's a little smoky and incensey from the frankincense, and then it's oudy and slightly leathery, but an overall wonderful wearing experience. Really, really delicious. Now, if you guys think the Night is a little overly animalic, try the Moon. The Moon is really good. It is definitely on the less expensive side as well. Still very pricey, obviously, but it's really, really good. It really is. I just love that whole fusion of the fruits, the incense, and also the oud and leather together. They're working wonderfully together. I love it. I see myself wearing this one a lot, and in fact, I think it's edged out Promise a little bit, sadly, as being my number 2 favorite, with the Night being my first favorite, and then of course Promise being my 3rd and Dawn being my 4th. Why is Dawn my 4th favorite? I feel like Dawn is in the shadows of the Night. I feel like the Night is that amazing experience, and then I feel like Dawn just kind of like falls flat next to it. It just doesn't come close to the intensity, the animalic qualities, the rose, the oud. It just doesn't come close to it. Something about it, the cold quality. Sometimes when you meet somebody and they give you the cold shoulder or cold treatment or something, and then you're like, I don't want to get near this person because they seem to be rude. I kind of get that kind of an experience with Dawn, even though we're not dealing with humans. It's just, the smelling experience. I just feel like it's in the shadows of the Night, whereas the Night is so amazing. This Dawn is just, okay. It's not a bad fragrance. It's just like, okay. If I have the Night, do I need Dawn? No, but if you like it more incensey, less oudy, animalic, and more, vetiver and things like that, then Dawn would be it for you. But if you want that punch, the animalics, the rose, the oud, and everything else that comes along with it, then go with the Night. But it's a preference of taste and things like that for people. Sometimes not only tastes, but also the experience. Like when you wear it and you experience it a lot different than what you thought you were going to get, and then you kind of revert back to the other one that you thought you didn't like. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but sometimes when you wear a fragrance that doesn't smell great on you, this Dawn does not smell as great as the Night smells on me. And I love the Night now, as I said. It was a little challenging at first, but I've you know, appreciate it and come to love it, and I love it. But the Moon is really, really close up there. I think the fruitiness of fragrances I'm starting to enjoy a lot more, and this with the fact that it's got raspberry and lychee with a leathery saffron. Of course, there's the leather in the base as well, but then in the heart you've got this frankincense or Olibanum note with Turkish roses. It's awesome. And just as an overall promise is, you know, the one that's like the oddball out of the collection. Just it doesn't belong in the collection, and then it does. It's the least expensive. It's not oody. It's a boozy fragrance, but smells really great, and that's Promise. Anyway, those are my thoughts on these fragrances. 4 fragrances from the Frederic Malle house called Desert Gems. I am working on one more video from the house of Frederic Malle. Stay tuned for that within the next week or two. I wanted to get these Frederic Malle videos out as I had these ideas brewing as I shot that particular video with Dahlia way back early March. And now that I have the Moon, I can do this video, which I've just done here, and then I'll also work on a whole other video right after this. So if you like the idea of Frederic Malle fragrances, videos on their fragrances, let me know, put a comment down. Also, let me know if there's any particular fragrance you want me to review from this house that you've been eyeing a lot. I'm happy to do it. In fact, I think I might just review Moon because I'm just obsessed with the way it smells. I love it. I just love that. Anyway, but if there's any particular fragrance you want me to review that I haven't reviewed, please do put it down so I can find out. Other than that, today, since we discussed the 4 Desert Gems fragrances, have you tried them? Do you like them? Do you own any of them? Or have you just thought the price is just so expensive that you don't even want to put your nose on them? Let me know. Put some comments down so I can find out. Also, do you like the idea of natural, all natural, 100% natural oud versus synthetic oud of oud fragrances like Tom Ford's Oud Wood or any other, you know, very popular oud fragrance that supposedly has natural oud, but in the end they're using synthetic oud, because there is that whole issue. Synthetic oud smells great, don't get me wrong, but when you put your nose on something like this and you can appreciate it the night, you might never go back to the synthetic ouds. But I like a balance of both, don't get me wrong. Anyway, those are my thoughts today on Frederic Malle's fragrances. If you have any questions or comments, please do list below. Otherwise, please do like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I'll be back with more videos very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good one. Goodbye.